Have you ever stopped to imagine what it would be like to have a space that truly reflects calm instead of chaos? A place where every object has its purpose and nothing is just clutter. I confess that I used to be in a constant struggle with my own home, overstuffed drawers, cabinets that barely closed, and that nagging feeling of never having enough time to organize everything. It was then that I realized the problem wasn't a lack of space or time. It was an excess of things, and that discovery transformed not only my home, but my entire relationship with what I own and how I live. Today, I want to share with you the 7 principles of organization that I learned from the Japanese philosophy of life, principles that completely changed the way I view the spaces I live in. It's not about complicated techniques, but a shift in mindset that anyone can apply, regardless of the size of their home or budget. And do you know what impressed me the most? How this transformation extended beyond just physical organization. The clarity in my spaces brought mental clarity. The serenity in my home mirrored inner peace. If you're tired of feeling like your home controls you instead of you controlling your home, this video might be the turning point you need. The first principle that transformed my relationship with my home was understanding that every object carries energy. I'm not talking about something mystical, I'm talking about something very real. Everything we keep occupies not only physical space, but also mental space. When we look at something we don't use, that doesn't bring us joy, or that's broken waiting for a repair that never happens. It drains us. It's like carrying a small, invisible weight. I started applying this in the most visible areas of my home. In the living room, for example, I had several decorative cushions that were only used to be arranged and rearranged daily. I kept only the ones I actually used to relax and those that matched the environment. The result was immediate. Less time spent tidying up, fewer items to clean, and a space that felt larger and more inviting. In the kitchen, this principle was revealing. I had 3 different spatulas, 5 ladles, utensils I received as gifts but never used. By keeping only what I actually utilized, the cabinets became organized naturally. And the most interesting part, I started cooking more because finding and putting away things was no longer a tiring task. The second principle is that true organization starts with less, not with more organizers. I used to believe that I needed more boxes, more dividers, more organization systems. I bought those items, and the house remained a mess. Why? Because I was merely hiding the problem, not solving it. The real change began when I stopped buying organizers and started questioning the necessity of each item I had. That set of towels saved for visits that never happened, clothes that no longer fit waiting for some magical day, souvenirs from trips gathering dust. All of this was rethought. In my closet, for instance, I reduced the number of pieces by 40%. It seems radical, but I've never felt so well dressed. I kept only what I truly liked, what matched each other, and what was comfortable. The result? I no longer had that feeling of opening a full closet and thinking I had nothing to wear. The third principle was understanding that organization is not an event. It is a daily habit. I used to let everything pile up and then spend an entire weekend tidying the house. It was exhausting, and worse, within a few days, everything reverted to the initial chaos. I learned to incorporate small daily practices. 5 minutes making my bed right after I wake up, washing the dishes immediately after meals, putting clothes away as soon as they come off the line, returning everything to its place after using it. At first, I had to consciously make an effort to create these habits, but soon they became automatic. The most amazing thing was realizing how these small daily actions eliminated the need for those stressful big cleanings. My home started to stay organized naturally, with much less effort. The fourth principle was to create breathing spaces. In Japanese homes, even the smallest ones, there are always empty spaces, areas where the eye can rest. These spaces are not a waste. They are essential for creating a sense of tranquility. I applied this by leaving some shelves partially empty, keeping the center of the dining table clear when not in use, and avoiding filling every corner with furniture or objects. These small empty spaces make all the difference in the feeling the environment conveys. In my bedroom, for example, I removed the nightstand that was cluttered with things and replaced it with a smaller, simpler model where I keep only the essentials. The space not only gained organization, but also tranquility. It's as if the room can breathe better. The fifth principle was to recognize that beauty and functionality go hand in hand. Contrary to what many think, organization does not mean cold or impersonal environments. On the contrary, When we keep only what truly matters, each object can be valued properly. In my bookshelf, for example, instead of dozens of decorative items, I kept only a few special pieces that hold personal significance. Each one has its space to be appreciated, rather than getting lost in the crowd. The house became cozier, not less. On the kitchen counter, instead of several rarely used appliances, I kept only the food processor that I use almost daily. It's attractive, functional, and has a prominent spot. The others were stored away or donated. The sixth principle was learning the art of conscious detachment. It's not about throwing away everything that isn't absolutely necessary, but about honestly questioning our relationship with each item. For some things, the answer was easy: worn-out clothes, broken utensils, duplicate items. For others, I had to ask deeper questions. Does this bring me joy? Does this have real usefulness in my current life? Am I keeping this out of obligation or guilt? That collection of magazines I had saved for years without ever rereading was donated to a community library, where others can benefit from it. Gifts I never used were passed on to those in real need. Mementos from past relationships were reduced to what truly held sentimental value. The process was not just practical, it was emotional. Each decision to let go taught me something about myself and what I truly value. The seventh principle, perhaps the most transformative, was understanding that organization is not about perfection, it's about intentionality. It's not about creating magazine-worthy spaces, but about having spaces that work for our real lives. In my workspace, for example, I accepted that some papers and materials need to be easily accessible, so I created a simple system that works for me. It's not perfect, it's not overly minimalist, but it's functional and helps me be productive. In the bathroom, instead of hiding everything in cabinets, I kept the products I use daily on a beautiful tray next to the sink. It's practical, functional, and adds an aesthetic touch to the space. This gentler approach to organization freed me from the pressure of having a perfect home and allowed me to create spaces that truly support my daily life. By applying these principles in each room of my house, I began to notice changes that went far beyond physical organization. The time I spent searching for things, tidying up clutter, or cleaning unnecessary items was redirected to activities that really matter. In the kitchen, with fewer utensils and more space on the countertops, I started cooking more and enjoying it more. I no longer had to empty an entire cabinet to find that specific baking pan, nor did I have to juggle items to put away my groceries. I established the rule of keeping kitchen surfaces clear, except for the items I use daily: a coffee maker, a nice cutting board, and a small vase with fresh herbs. This not only made daily cleaning easier, but also made the space more inviting to use. The kitchen cabinets were reorganized by frequency of use. What I use every day is within easy reach. What I use weekly is stored a bit further away, and seasonal items like holiday baking pans were placed on the highest shelves. In the bathroom, the transformation was equally significant. Duplicated products, accumulated samples, and items for a special occasion were reviewed. I kept only what I truly used and liked. I created a small beauty ritual with the few products that remained, and I started to appreciate them much more. When I finished a lotion or shampoo, I allowed myself to buy another good quality item instead of accumulating several mediocre ones. The medicine cabinet also underwent a complete review. Expired medications were disposed of properly, and the remaining items were organized by category in small, clear boxes. This not only made it easier to find what I needed in moments of necessity, but it also helped me realize what was truly essential to have at home. In the living room, the challenge was to create an environment that fostered both relaxation and socialization. I removed excess furniture and decorative items, leaving only a comfortable sofa, 2 armchairs, a functional coffee table, and a few items of real sentimental value. The shelves, previously filled with books I never reread and objects accumulated over the years, were reorganized to hold only the books I truly love or consult frequently, along with a handful of meaningful pieces. The result was a space that invites rest and conversation without the feeling of visual clutter. A simple yet powerful change was establishing the habit of resetting the room every night before going to bed, arranging the pillows, folding the blankets, putting remote controls in the coffee table drawer, and taking cups back to the kitchen. Waking up to an organized environment completely changed the tone of my mornings. In the bedroom, the focus was on creating a sanctuary for rest. I removed everything unrelated to sleep or clothing, no work, electronics, except for a simple alarm clock, or items that could cause distractions. The bed has been made religiously every morning, with quality sheets changed weekly. I noticed that this simple habit not only made the room look prettier during the day, but also created a sense of care and comfort at night when I went to sleep. The wardrobe was one of the biggest challenges. I started by removing everything and only returning the pieces I truly loved, that fit well and that I wore regularly. The remainder was sorted into 3 categories: donate, items in good condition; recycle, worn fabrics; and repair, items worth fixing. To my surprise, the wardrobe ended up with half the volume it had before, but I began to wear practically everything I owned. I created a small seasonal rotation system, storing winter clothes during the summer and vice versa, which freed up even more space. A habit I developed is the one-in, one-out rule. For every new piece of clothing I bought, an old one needed to be discarded. This made me much more mindful about my purchases and prevented clutter from building up again. In my work and study areas, organization brought immediate benefits in productivity and focus. I drastically reduced paper clutter by digitizing what was important and discarding the rest. I established a simple system to manage the paperwork that inevitably came in: bills, correspondence, documents. My workspace is now kept clean, with just my computer, a notebook for quick notes, and a pen. Everything else is organized in drawers, easily accessible but out of sight, reducing visual distractions. In storage areas like the pantry, linen closets, and laundry room, I applied the same principle of keeping only what's necessary and organizing by frequency of use. In the pantry, for example, I started buying smaller quantities more frequently, which helped avoid waste and excess food. For the laundry room, I simplified my cleaning products, keeping just one all-purpose cleaner, one for the bathroom, one for glass, and another for floors. I discovered that I didn't need dozens of specific products that advertisements make us believe are essential. For bedding and towels, I kept 2 sets per person, plus one for guests. That was more than enough, and made washing and storage much easier. One area that many overlook in organization is the digital space. I applied the same principles from the physical space to my computer, phone, and online accounts. Files were organized into a logical system, old emails were archived or deleted, and unused apps were removed. I've established a habit of doing a digital declutter each month, reviewing downloads, photos, and documents. This not only freed up storage space, but also significantly reduced that feeling of informational overload that we all know well. One fascinating aspect of this journey was noticing how my relationship with shopping changed naturally. Before, I used to buy things on a whim out of boredom or as an emotional coping mechanism. After organizing my home and seeing how much I had accumulated unnecessarily, I started asking myself questions before each purchase. Where exactly will this go in my home? What will I give up to make space for this? Does this item solve a real problem or create new ones? Am I buying out of need or just a fleeting desire? This reflection not only drastically reduced what came into my home, but also improved my finances and increased my satisfaction with what I already owned. One of the biggest benefits of this transformation was the impact on my mental well-being. When spaces are organized, the mind feels calmer. When everything has its place, we spend less mental energy deciding where to put things or where to find items. I noticed I started sleeping better in an organized bedroom. I prepared meals with more enjoyment in a functional kitchen. I could truly relax in a living room free from visual distractions. I was able to work with more focus in a minimalist office. And perhaps the most surprising change, I began to value experiences more than objects. The money and time I used to spend on buying, organizing, and cleaning things was redirected toward meaningful moments, a course I always wanted to take: travel, get-togethers with friends, and quality time with myself. Another important lesson was about maintaining this new lifestyle. At first, I had to be very conscious and disciplined. Over time, the new habits became automatic, a natural part of my routine. I discovered that small daily actions are much more effective than large occasional reorganizations. 5 minutes tidying up the kitchen after each meal, 10 minutes before bed resetting the main areas, a quick check of my bag and keys before leaving the house. To keep this system running, I've established some simple routines. Daily: make the bed, wash the dishes after use, put items back in their places, do a quick reset of the areas before going to bed. Weekly, clean the fridge, check perishable foods, change bed linens, do a light cleaning. Monthly, review the wardrobe, check items that aren't being used, update organizational systems that aren't working well. Seasonally, switch out seasonal clothing, review stored items, do a deeper clean, reassess each area of the house. This structure has given me freedom, not restriction. When maintenance tasks are small and frequent, they stop being a burden and become almost meditative. One aspect I didn't expect from this journey was how it affected my relationships. A calmer, more organized environment has created space for more meaningful connections. I've started inviting friends over more often, without the pre-visit stress of hiding clutter in closets. Conversations at home have become deeper and less interrupted by distractions. Time with family is genuinely of quality, not just sharing the same space while each one deals with their own things. Even my relationships with neighbors have changed. I've started borrowing and lending items we use rarely, instead of everyone accumulating everything. This has created a small network of support and cooperation that has enriched my social life. If you're inspired to start your own transformation journey, I recommend starting small. Don't try to reorganize the whole house at once. That's just a recipe for burnout and giving up. Start with a drawer, a shelf, a surface. Try the process on a small scale. Feel the difference it makes to have that little space working well. Then, gradually expand. Remember that each home, each person, and each family has different needs. What worked for me may need adjustments to fit your reality. The important thing is not to follow strict rules, but to find a system that supports your way of life and brings more peace to your daily routine, and be patient with yourself. Accumulation is a habit we develop over the years, influenced by a society that values ownership. Letting go and simplifying is a process, not an event. Every small change is a victory. What I've discovered on this journey is that organization is not about aesthetic perfection or following trends. It's about creating spaces that support us, that make our routine easier, that reflect our values and priorities. It's about living with more intention and less on autopilot. Today, my home isn't perfect, but it's functional. It's not a decor showroom, but it's a place where I feel at peace. It doesn't follow all the design rules, but it adheres to the rules I've created for my own life. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson. When we simplify our spaces, we create room to understand what really matters to us. We're not just organizing objects, we're organizing priorities, values, time, energy. Ultimately, we are organizing our own lives. The home we create becomes not just a place to store things, but a reflection of the choices we make, a space that welcomes us and empowers us to live a fuller, more present life. This transformation is within everyone's reach. It doesn't require huge investments, specialized knowledge, or perfect conditions. It only requires the willingness to question habits, the courage to let go, and the persistence to create new patterns. If you took the first step today by watching this video, know that you've already started your journey. The next step can be as simple as organizing a drawer or questioning your next purchase. Small changes lead to big results. Thank you for joining me in this video. If it inspired you in any way, please leave a comment sharing which principle resonated with you the most, or which area of your home needs this transformation the most. I'll see you in the next video. Please share this blessed video so it can touch and help others like you and me. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of our faith community. If you'd like to support our channel a bit more, consider becoming a member of our channel. I'll leave 2 more videos here for you to continue your journey. Thank you, and may God bless you all. Talk to you soon.